Hello, greetings. This is Erick Widman from Passage Immigration Law, and we appreciate you joining us for our weekly live Q&A about various immigration questions you have about the U.S. immigration system. And there are some good ones this week. One question we got asked in two different ways, actually, is what is the immigration officer looking for at my adjustment of status interview? So if it's based upon marriage, what they're looking for is proof of a genuine marriage. And at the heart of that is that they're looking for consistency and credibility. So we've experienced it multiple times when I've gone in there with clients. The immigration officer is looking for consistency in what evidence is presented and how questions are answered. So, for example, when a couple is asked about how they met, they want to hear a consistent response. They want to hear something that's not robotic and exactly the same. But, for example, if a couple is separated and the question is asked, how did you meet? They want to see a similar response. They want to hear a similar response because that gets to the key issue of credibility. So if you don't have consistency, you don't have credibility, and without credibility, that undercuts your proof of a genuine marriage and therefore your ability to get a green card. So make sure the evidence is consistent, make sure your responses are consistent, but they should not be 100% the same. That would be impossible. That would be robotic. That would be memorizing things so that you have fake answers that are just not realistic. So some imperfections, that enhances credibility. That is part of being a real couple. That's a part of being human. And USCIS officers understand that. So in general, they are looking for consistency and credibility. Okay, next question. We've got a bit of a longer question here. It's worth reading the whole thing. It'll give context, and it'll also help people understand that it could apply to multiple countries. But here we go. My 18-year-old nephew wants to come to the US from Ethiopia by any legal means. It seems that his best chance is to come here through a student visa. We plan to pursue this as he completes his first year of college in Ethiopia. But could it hurt his chances of being approved for a student visa if he also applies for a diversity visa lottery spot? I know the chances of being chosen for that are slim. We agree that's why they call it a lottery, but they're not zero. Because yes, 50,000 people or so come in every year when they're not massive delays. So I am concerned, writes the question asker, that it would contradict his stated intentions as on a student visa application that he intends to return to Ethiopia. Do people apply for both? So that is a great question. And one of the common gray areas of immigration law is this legal concept of immigrant intent. Certain types of visas are, as a prerequisite, you must demonstrate non-immigrant intent. You must not have the intent to immigrate, to become a permanent resident, and to get a green card. So, for example, a student visa, as this person was asking, requires the intent to return and not immigrate, return to your home country and not immigrate, non-immigrant intent. So the student visa, the F1 student visa, could be denied if the consular officer believes this person actually wants to immigrate and get a green card. And so the consular officer's job, not an easy job, is to look at all the various factors that go into that person's profile. If that person has lots of ties and connections to, in this case, Ethiopia, to the home country, versus ties and connections to the US. And the plan or the stated intent of this individual for the future. So again, an F1 student visa holder has to, as a prerequisite, plan to return and explain that he or she's going to return to one's home country, to Ethiopia. This diversity visa application allows someone to get a green card and become a permanent resident of the US if you're selected. Most people are not selected. Odds are pretty low that you are going to be selected, but still roughly 50,000 people are selected. So as the questioner asked, odds are not zero. Overall, the best way to approach this question is to recognize that applying for the diversity visa is proof of intent to immigrate. It's not a decisive, devastating blow to a student visa, but a consular officer is supposed to take that into consideration as the officer weighs if that person has immigrant intent or not, because one of the things that you can and should point out is that the diversity visa is proof of intent to immigrate at a future time, at some point. Likely not now, but it's when that diversity visa opens up. So it's a bit of a gray area. It's not clear cut. To be completely safe, you would be best off not applying for the diversity visa, but many people do, and it turns out okay in that the F1 student visa is granted. But it's a close call, and that's why it's a good question. And you might get inconsistent results at different consulates. And the US State Department is really tough on Ethiopians. So you might not want to make the situation even more difficult. I believe it's for your nephew. He might not want to do that to enhance the chance of getting the student visa issued and getting that through. Okay, next question. Can I get a visa if I have a bachelor's degree in engineering? So in the business immigration category, a bachelor's degree opens the door, for example, for an H-1B specialty occupation or E3 visa for Australians. So having a bachelor's degree or a TN visa, it all depends on where you're from. TN visas are available for Canadians and Mexicans, but the type of visa, the door certainly is open when someone has a bachelor's degree, and many more opportunities are available than if you didn't have that degree. And you could also get, for example, a green card through EB3, employment-based third preference category. For many people who have bachelor's degrees in engineering are able to go that pathway. So yes, that is possible. Next question. What way can an unskilled worker come to America? And that's such a rough, difficult term, but that's the term of art that's out there. And the US has a huge need for workers in this category. Classic category, it's fairly challenging for employers to get this, but H-2A, H-2B visas, those are possible for those who are not, for example, on an H-1B or qualify for a green card. But for example, another category you would want to look into is having your employer petition for a green card for you if you, for example, are a waiter, a serving staff person, or certain types of caregivers, employees. And the key is to assess which category you're falling into, because maybe of course, everybody has skills who's going to get employed. Otherwise, they wouldn't pay you any money. So they're paying you for your important labor. More research is required to figure out exactly for your case, which is the best category for you. Okay. Is there an application fee for a green card application? Yes, there is. The US government loves their application fees, and USCIS is fully funded on the basis of immigration fees. So they love it when people apply for benefits. There's a 485 form. That's the application to adjust status. And if it is based upon marriage, based upon employment, you got to fill out form 485. And that fee is pretty expensive. I believe it's $1,200. And you can also apply for work authorization and travel authorization as part of that. So you do get some other perks with your big fee payment. But yes, there's definitely a adjustment of status fee for the applicant, and then the petitioner has to pay a fee either for form I-130 or form I-140, if that's employment based, to get the green card process started. That's typically the two steps for someone getting a green card. Petitioner files a petition, pays a fee for that, and then the applicant, the beneficiary, has to pay a fee as well. And if it's happening through consular processing abroad rather than within the US, someone is not adjusting status in that instance, that person is going through the National Visa Center and the US consulate and has to fill out a visa application form, DS-260, DS-160, and pay for those fees. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. We appreciate the questions. We're just going to wrap things up right here. Definitely send an email if you have additional follow-up questions, support@passage.law, or give us a call. Take care. We'll see you next week.